Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Doug Cash titled Child Alone. And if we switch over to here, we have the track on the screen. We're going to be listening through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do this. Interesting tone to the drums and the guitar, kind of a nostalgic feel to it. I like the warmth of it. Really clear, competent performance. Those kicks are sidechained nicely.
Power Rangers and Cookie Monsters, not oral and anal abuse.
Oh. Yeah, we are not messing around, are we?
Another runaway, not by a straight or gay. Leave that little child alone.
Oh, I get where we're going with this. Okay. I like the coloration of the guitar riff there, nice bit of ornamentation and the fingerstyle. I don't know if it's hyper-picking or fingerstyle guitar there. It's fantastic, nice and clean, competent performance there.
Created, so mutilated.
Oh, nice harmonies there, backing harmonies.
Self-esteem, substance abuse. Scarred and damaged the life of the one that could have been my wife. Leave that little child alone. Leave that little child alone. Another runaway, not by a straight or gay. Leave that little child alone.
I like that chord at the end, that bum bum, switching back to their root note, their comfortable place. It's a little bit of a shock every time, even though we know it's coming. Interesting use of extensions there, and a nice supported drum beat to go alongside it.
Just like Mountbatten. Go kill yourself like Vince at Marcy Park. Another runaway, not by your straight or gay. Leave that little child alone.
It's a bombastic bass tone in it, nice and full sounding, got a kind of a warble to it.
Leave that little child alone.
It's kind of incredible how they managed to mix that in and make it work. There's 1,001 ways you can screw up a bass tone like that, but it managed to do very well on the studio side of things.
Go blow yourself up, just like Mountbatten. Go kill yourself like Vince at Marcy Park. Another runaway, not by a straight or gay. Leave that little child alone. Ooh, another runaway, leave that little child alone. Another runaway, leave that little child alone.
Refrain going back to that hook there.
Runaway, leave that little child alone.
A little bit more exploration on the bass line, that's cool.
Runaway, leave that little child alone.
Okay, we're really sort of focusing on that idea that that's fine.
Runaway, leave that little child alone. Runaway, leave that little child alone. Runaway, leave that little child alone. Runaway.
Doug Cash Blues. Okay, that was nice and authentic. Child Alone. It's a heavy subject matter, but I think that it was handled well, maturely. You know, because you have the conclusion to do. Because this is, of course, my review of Doug Cash's Child Alone. What do I think this track is about? I think it's about kids being exposed to too many different, often horrific things in their lives, losing their innocence, it completely screwing up their existences and that trauma leading on to their latter parts of their life, and just kindly asking people to not harm kids or abuse kids. I have to hand it to Doug Cash. When you bring in that stuff about the sex abuse, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say sex on YouTube. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. There's certain words on YouTube you're not allowed to say, right? I think that it catches the audience's attention. It articulates efficiently what the track is inferring to. Obviously, you want to listen to the whole of it to gain a wider context for it. But I personally know people who have been abused as kids, and it's not like I just got over it. You know, they had to go through stuff to get help, and I think it's actually a really important thing to talk about. So kudos to Doug Cash for not only talking about it, but also handling it in a way that was really caring and intelligent. In addition to that, you know, we had the vocal performance itself from Doug Cash, which was it was not only tuneful, it was almost like it was a calm kind of demeanor about it. But it's, you know, because I'm sure that he was probably aware that if he'd said leave those child alone, you know, like I'm sure if he had like screamed it into the microphone, you know, people who are doing that stuff, they're not going to care about that, you know. It's sort of trying to appeal their humanity, if there is any there, you know, to go, seriously, please stop doing this. I have to appreciate the vocal performance, how the melodies worked and how they were repeated, and those vocal harmonies as well, and the crispness and the attenuation in there, and the way the words were pronounced nice and clearly. I could take everything in. As someone who's been doing more production work for people recently, I am finding it increasingly important, for obvious reasons, again, for people to sing clearly, because you kind of screwed otherwise, right? I'm proud of Doug for this. It was a great vocal performance. It sounded very authentic, and it sounded like he really obviously cared about it. And the melodic choices there with the sequences and stuff, they made sense, you know. Nice little point of difference between the verses and the choruses, and repetition where it needed to. Good stuff. The structure of the track had that sort of traditional verse-chorus structure. What was interesting about the verse is that we had we had like a stanza or a few lines, and then a break back to the refrain, and then another verse. I like the fact that we had those two verses in a row effectively. I think that having a little gap between them to kind of absorb the intensity and, you know, of it all, you know, just to kind of ponder it is important. If you shove too much information in a listener's eardrums at once, they will become overwhelmed, and that was not the case for me despite the magnitude of what was being described. So I am thankful to Doug Cash for that. In addition, I suppose, to the structuring and the main motif had a 3-chord progression there with a chromatic or like a parallel chord at the end. Nice little bits of ornamentation in the second half, like strummed first, arpeggiated for that second half. And there were little bits of development as we went through from like the bass guitar and stuff like that. And then again, there were extra vocal tracks added in later on, or extra overdubs later on to continue to make it sound fresh and interesting. Bearing in mind this track is that 3.5 minute point, which is an absolute sweet spot in today's music industry. 3.5 minutes is great for most people, especially if you do not mess around in that first 30 seconds. We nailed it there. I think the performance from the guitarist, bass, drums, and all that was sensational. It's all we needed. Really interesting bass tone, but that's more of a production thing, I suppose. It was just so thick that I wasn't expecting it to be as agile as it was. I'm kind of thankful there was less of a lead line coming from the guitars, which is, if you've been watching my reviews for a while, you'll know that I'm a fan of guitar solos and solo parts for other instruments in songs like this, especially within genres like this, but I don't necessarily think that having a lead solo would have benefited this track. It would have only extended the time of it. It wouldn't have added gravity or anything like that to it. I think there was enough articulation in those verse and chorus parts to make up for that. I think it was as deep as it needed to be without becoming pretentious. I have the time in the world for that. I'm very happy with the actual performance, and the drums were so supportive of everything else, man. They were nice and punchy. I had that 8th note groove going for most of the time. You know, what more could you ask for? There's a great overall harmony going on there, and everything meshed well with everything else. And finally, the recording, mixing, and mastering was sensational. It was commercial grade. You know, we have a musician here who, the actual recording of their vocals was absolutely fantastic, you know, nice and crisp. The EQing and the stereo panning of these instruments was stunning. You know, it was nice and wide and everything. There were no weird resonances. Oh, except from the bass guitar. I suppose I'm not I'm trying to say that I'm like not a massive fan of the tone, but that I think it was the right tone for the song, if that makes any sense at all. I'm more of a fan of smooth bass tones, but I also understand that when you have a bit of a rougher kind of grit to it, it can sound a little bit more meaningful, right? And also, having the same tone for the instrument in every song would be boring. So why not have change, right? And also, it's okay if I don't like something. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily the bad decision to make, you know. It's all good. That's music is subjective, and it's what makes it so beautiful. The leveling of the different instruments, the mix was great. A nice amount of dynamic range to it. Never felt like it was pumping. I mean, that goes the same for like the compression limiter and all that in the master chain. It was nice and loud without being overwhelming. Sensational effort from Doug Cash with Child Alone. Really happy with it. I hope that people get to watch this, and hopefully it makes a difference. You know, I enjoy songs where people try to talk about topics that are heavy, but they're a necessity. We need to continue to be aware that this stuff happens, and kids deserve to be safe. But this is effectively, again, my review of Doug Cash's Child Alone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Doug Cash some love via his various social medias and his YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.